President MOHAMMADU Buhari expresses ignorance over Inspector General's disobedience. Nigerian government to source for 8 billion naira to settle unions in the tertiary education sector. Power Minister reassures Nigerians of steady power supply. INEC seeks Electoral Offences Tribunal before 2019 poll. Lagos government okays 25 years jail term for rapists and domestic violence perpetrators. Welcome to the PM News on Television Nigerian. I am Eunice Johnson. President Muhammadu Buhari has revealed that he had expressly ordered the Inspector General of Police Ibrahim Idris to relocate to Benue State in the wake of the recurrent killings and clashes in the state, but his directive was not followed to the letter. The president made this assertion recently in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, while on a visit to the state, noting that he was unaware that the IG only spent one day in the state. The president, however, restated his commitment to ensuring peaceful coexistence of all citizens in the country and appealed to farmers and herdsmen in the state to continue to live peacefully with one another. President Muhammadu Buhari was on the third leg of his visit to condole with residents in the state was hit by the incessant clashes between farmers and cattle herders. He had earlier visited Taraba and Plateau State and is slated to visit Rivers and Zamfara states next, both of which recorded high casualties when criminals struck them recently. In a bid to end the lingering face-off between the unions in the tertiary education sector and the federal government says it will source for 8 billion naira within 5 weeks to pay the Joint Account Committee (JAC) of the Non-Academic Staff Union of Nigerian Universities. The Minister for Labour and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, said this at a resolution reached during the conciliation meeting with the Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities (ASU) in Abuja. The resolution was jointly signed by the Labour Minister as well as the leader of the unions. The minister also said that part of the 8 billion would also be used to pay members of ASU, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and also the University of Ilorin who were not paid at the last disbursement. He said the Ministry of Education was to synergize with the concerned institutions to ensure compliance with the presidential initiative on continuous audit requirements to facilitate payments of JAC members in the universities that were yet to comply. Speaking on the issue of the non-implementation of Consolidated Tertiary Institutions Salary Structure 14 and 15 for technologists, Senator Chris Ngige revealed that the Ministry of Education has made submissions to the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation and appropriate actions will be followed promptly. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has said that the federal government is making efforts to ensure steady power supply in the country. Speaking at the 25th monthly power sector meeting in Uyo, the minister stated that the power sector recovery program put in place by the ministry and other stakeholders in the power sector was beginning to yield positive results. He revealed that the federal government had secured the World Bank approval for $486 million for the expansion of the transmission company of Nigeria. The minister further stated that the power sector recovery program policies, actions and programs in the sector were meant to solve the problems in the power sector, stating that he is optimistic that with all that has been put on ground, uninterrupted power supply will be a reality in Nigeria. Ahead of the 2019 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has urged the National Assembly and other stakeholders to expedite action on the bill to establish the National Electoral Offences Tribunal. The Commission's chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, stated this recently in a memorandum he submitted to the Senate Joint Committee on INEC and the Judiciary. Yakubu expressed dismay that reports of the Electoral Reform Committee, the OWASE report specifically of the 2008 and the Post-Election Violence LEMO report 2011 have been left unattended to. He said the two reports recommended the establishment of the Electoral Offences Tribunal to address all forms of electoral violence and impunity that had continued to undermine the stability of the nation's democracy. Yakubu lamented the fact that though INEC has the power to prosecute, it lacks the power to effect the arrest of electoral offenders. This, he said, has continued to hamper effective prosecution of electoral offenders. After the break, Lagos government okays 25 years jail term for rapists and domestic violence perpetrators. Thanks for staying tuned. Rapists and perpetrators of all forms of domestic violence in Lagos now risk 25 years jail term as the state governor Akinwumi Ambode has assured full support for the law. The governor led a symbolic walk against domestic and sexual violence recently in Alausa, Ikeja, with the top government functionaries including the Deputy Governor Dr. Oluroti Adebule, Chief Judge of the State Justice Olufumilayo Oke, wife of the Governor Mrs. Bolanle Ambode, Commissioner of Police Imohimi Edgar, Lagos State Attorney General Mr. Adeniji Kazim, members of the State Executive Council, members of the House of Assembly, stakeholders in the justice sector, celebrities, students, amongst others. The governor stated that it was time to take the fight one step further by amending the Prosecution and Protection Against Domestic Violence Law 2007 and also come up with strict punitive measures that will serve as a deterrent to perpetrators of such acts. He stated that the state has done a lot in the fight against the oppression of the female gender, noting that the state's domestic and sexual violence response team has executed interventions and initiatives including easy access to reporting incidents, speedy rescue and access to justice, medical and psychosocial support for survivors, sensitization and policy advocacy, and the establishment of the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Trust Fund to ensure survivors are financially independent. The governor commended the Lagos State Judiciary and the State Assembly for rising up to the social menace, stating that all efforts geared towards providing a solid platform for waging the war against sexual and gender-based violence in the state would yield favorable results. Now to some entertainment stories. Popular Nigerian comic actor John Okafor, popularly known as Mr. Ibu, has lamented the lack of standard structure in the Nigerian film industry. Mr. Ibu regretted that the world's second largest movie industry lacks standard structures such as headquarters buildings and modern film studios since its establishment over 20 years ago. Reacting to the financial support given to the industry by the present administration, Mr. Ibu stated that practitioners in the industry would benefit from structured Nollywood rather than financial aid from the Nigerian government. He further alleged that most actors, actresses, and producers in Nollywood do not benefit from such funds due to selfish interest of those in charge of its disbursement within the government agencies. The comic actor claimed that the Nigerian film industry would surpass the Nigerian oil industry in terms of financial output if a structure is put in place and those in the structure run their affairs devoid of interferences. And in sports, the media office of the Federation of International Football Associations FIFA is set to restart sales of tickets for the Russia 2018 World Cup Games. In a recent statement, the association revealed that over 1.3 million tickets have been allocated since the start of ticket sales in September 2017. FIFA Media Office stated that many matches and ticket products for the tournament were oversubscribed, adding that this again required a random selection draw for ticket allocation. The football body, however, assured that fans who were not so lucky can still be part of the FIFA World Cup in Russia, as sales will again commence on Tuesday, stating that it would be conducted on a first-come, first-served basis. And on the foreign scene, Sierra Leone's National Electoral Commission (NEC) has ordered the repeat of count of ballot papers for the presidential election in 247 polling stations in the country. The polling stations, according to a document released by the Commission on Monday in Freetown, are located in 7 out of 16 districts in the country. Recounts are permissible under Section 89, Article 3 of Sierra Leone's Public Election Act 2012, where it guided that the process takes place in the Commission's office while open to party agents and observers. Head of the Sierra Leone Electoral Commission, Mohamed Conte, revealed that while the majority of the results have been entered into the presidential election results sheet, the Commission had identified some forms that require examination before they could be accepted as genuine results. He further disclosed that repeat counts were underway now in relevant district offices. Sierra Leoneans had gone to the polls on March 7th, and there is no formal information yet as to when the final results of the elections will be announced. To end the news, a recap of the major stories. President MOHAMMADU Buhari expresses ignorance over Inspector General's disobedience. Nigerian government to source for 8 billion naira to settle unions in the tertiary education sector. Power Minister reassures Nigerians of steady power supply. INEC seeks Electoral Offences Tribunal before 2019 poll. Lagos State Government okays 25 years jail term for rapists and domestic violence perpetrators. And that's the news hour. Before I go, I leave you with this thought. Blessed are those who can give without remembering and take without forgetting. Thanks for staying tuned. I am Eunice Johnson. Enjoy the rest of your day.